Okay. So, good morning, friends. It's a pleasure to be back again on this Sunday. And our speaker this morning is Mr. Santi Borgni. I think most of us know Santi because he has spoken before this group even earlier. And I'm very, very thankful to Santi for accepting our invitation to be here this morning. And Santi is going to speak to us on silence. For those who are going to hear Shanti for the first time, I'll briefly introduce Santi to you. Mr. Santi Borgni's connection with Krishnamurti's teachings is started over 4 decades ago when he read a book written by Krishnamurti. Since then, Santi had felt deeply appealed to read, explore, share, and as far as possible, live those words. In 2001, Santi started Casa della Pace, a house in nature in central Italy, as a Krishnamurti-inspired retreat center. Since that time, Shanti has hosted 5 or 6 retreats every year based on study, dialogue, and silence. These retreats continue even today with closer friends as well as with newcomers. Apart from this, Shanti has been a huge support for Achyut Patwardhan School in Rajghat. Not only he has been helping the school, but through his friends, he has been bringing in substantial funds to help Rajghat School, the rural school. And Shanti, if I can say in few words, is a true friend of Rajghat Education Center. With these words, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Shanti and want to thank him once again for being with us here today. So Shanti, you can begin your talk and for as long as you want, and leave at least half an hour for people to, convey their comments or ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dubey, and thank you, everybody. I'm glad to share with you some meditation, I would say, some inquiry on this topic of silence that is a very central topic in my understanding. I had been offering silent retreats for more than 10 years now. And recently I published a book on silence that was published by an editor in Italy. I think silence is essential, is a central part of our lives, and is essential for a thinking process that is healthy, that is not based on false ideas. And I will try to enter into this statement and unfold it. Our culture, I think perhaps Western culture far more than Eastern culture. But anyway, our culture is largely based on measurement, having more, aiming to success, is largely based on achieving through thinking. This has been going on for a millennia, most probably. And we see or perhaps we can, inquiring, we can see that in this attempt to achieve our aims, the aims are put there by thinking, and the way to reach them is a vicious circle. If we want to have more, for instance, that is quite common all over the world. The middle class want to have more, to step higher in society everywhere, in India as well in Europe. The rich people, they want to be richest, and the poor people, they would like to survive. That is another issue. But this idea of wanting to have more is seen as an obvious fact. Having more is better than having less. Is almost universal. When I was in Rajghat last time, we went to Namo Ghat, that is the new Ghat built recently with the huge works that are going on in Varanasi, and it was crowded with the Indian middle class that having access to some consumerism. And one sees that is the same all over the world. In Greece is the same, in Italy is the same. Everybody wants to consume, to have more. And this is called pleasure. Eating more, having mobile phones, cars and so on, bigger cars, is pleasure, is better. But this very idea that is the aim, the idea is in the beginning of the process. Once one accepts that having more is better, then the process starts, and so the aim is the beginning. There is no separation between the very idea that is at the root of the thinking process that is leading toward having more. That same idea is in the very beginning. So, in my understanding, for what I see, this is true for all thinking, or almost all thinking. Because we have to also observe that there is a thinking that is based on facts. When we think simply, I don't know, I want to make a soup, I look in the fridge, there are 2 carrots, 2 onions, and some potatoes, and I say, okay, I can make a soup out of that. This is thinking, and it is simple, based on fact. If I want to go somewhere, I know that I have to use the car or take a train and so on, and I think, and this is simple, it's connected with facts. It's based on facts. Scientific thinking is based on facts. And there is observation fact, developing a theory that is based on fact, and then going back to fact to check if the theory is correct or not. So this has been giving science a tremendous power, tremendous success, this observational reality, and thinking, having a thinking process that starts from facts and return to facts. But generally speaking, our thinking is not based on facts. It's based on other folks' ideas, opinions, memories, truths, judgments, and so on. So out of one opinion or idea or memory and so on, we develop more thinking. So out of thinking, we develop more thinking. In this way, the thinking process cannot be effective, cannot work properly, because the very foundation of it is untrue. The memory is not a fact, it's an idea, the idea of something that happened in the past. With my wife, I can memorize something that happened 1 year back, something that hurted me, and then on the ground of this memory, I act today with her, and my action is based on something that is not actually factual now. I'm basing it on memory, on one idea, something that happened. It really happened, but 1 year back, not now. So I was pointing out before to the idea of having more is better. That is a very shared, a very common idea, is taken for granted, for obvious. Having more is better is something that everybody, apparently, almost everybody would agree. It's not even seen as an idea. It's not seen as an opinion. It's seen as an obvious fact, but it's not a fact. It is an idea. In the same way, there are plenty of opinions, ideas that we take for granted. Perhaps some of us has been dropping some of these ideas, as nationalism, being European is better than being India, or being Indian is better than being European, or whatever, or being Chinese is better than both. Some of us has been dropping these kind of ideas, has been dropping, but we should carefully go into the depths of ourselves to check which ideas we keep with us, which ideas we take for granted from our experience, from our hurts, from our culture, from our background. For instance, there are ideas that are apparently obvious, as I think almost everywhere, science is considered very reliable. Advices from scientists are kept as a high value, opinions. And the scientific approach to reality is deterministic, is to measure, to determine facts, to isolate facts, and to state that those facts are actual. Apparently, as I was saying, this is a way of thinking very effective. But there is a hidden side, I would say, to this. We don't see that there is an idea hidden in it. The idea that only what is measurable, only what can be defined, determined, is actual, factual. The rest is not factual. So we can say is not as important, is not as real as what we can determine, what we can measure and state that it is factual because it has been studied, measured, seen as existing. So in this way, all the area of perception, all the area of human spirit, what we feel, everything we cannot define, measuring it as beauty, for instance. We cannot measure beauty. We actually see beauty, we perceive beauty in a child, we perceive beauty in the river, in the forest, in the sky, in the sunset. Without beauty, our lives would be meaningless. But beauty is not measurable. It's not a fact as it is, I don't know, the moon. The moon is a fact, can be studied, can be measured, and so on. Beauty, the beauty of the moon is not a fact. It's a perception. It's something that might exist or not exist. We don't know, in fact, what beauty is. It's something we feel, we perceive. And in the same way, we can feel that to be honest, to have integrity, to be true to ourselves is essential. Is something where compromises cannot exist. Because without being honest to ourselves, nothing can stand. No relation can stand upon the basis of falseness, upon lack of honesty. This is obvious, but cannot be measured. To be honest or to be not honest is something we perceive, we feel, we know when it comes to ourselves, perhaps, but we cannot take for granted that we know actually if the other person is honest or not. It's something we perceive. So all this area of perception, feelings, inner seeing, insight is denied, completely denied by the idea of science that say only what is measurable is factual. So even when we start from facts, as in science, and we develop thinking upon facts, and then we return to thinking, but hidden behind that, there is again an idea. That is, idea means to limit our vision of reality to something that is restricted by the very idea that is on the basis of the thinking process. Having more is better, restrict the field of what we see to that aim of having more. And we don't see the beauty of having a simple life where there is lightness, where the pleasure is given by watching the sunset, getting up at dawn, feeling the breeze, listening to birds. This is joy, being in a good relation with friends, having good communications. This is not having more. This is the richness of life, is another thing. It's not having. Having more is piling up things, but the richness of life is coming and is going. No one can hold it in his hand, in his hand. Communication, good communication with friends is not something we have. It's something that we can live. It happens, and we must let it go when it's finished. So it's a different area of life. It's not something measurable. It's not something we have. It's an area that is, I would call spiritual. Spiritual in the root sense of the word. The root sense of the word spirit comes from breath, from blowing. So something that is blowing. And they say you can't know from where the wind blows and where it goes. There is blowing. It comes and it goes. The word of the spirit, the spiritual word, is this. Friendship, the real friendship, where there is affection, where there is sharing, where there is understanding each other immediately, without word, is the spiritual world. The spiritual world is not in the temples, is not in rituals and so on. It is in this richness of life. So, because thinking is so limited, so narrow, based on other folks' ideas, memories, opinions, and so on, thinking is not effective. It never comes to a conclusion. It is always going round and round in circles, in weird, creating more and more noise. It's noisy within and without. It's dangerous within and without. It's dangerous in relationships. It's dangerous in the relationship with others. It's dangerous in the relationship with nature. It's creating a world that is in a mess. Because the way it works is not rooted on truth, on facts. It is not considering, because of that, we cannot see the whole of reality. We just see a fragment of reality, because the reality is created by the very idea that is at the root of the thinking process. I hope it's clear what I'm saying. So if at the root of our thinking process there is having more is better, then we will measure and we will see everything from that window. And we will not see the beauty of having nothing, of leading a simple life. We cannot, because our vision is restricted. We will not see the beauty of a bird singing in the evening, because it's nothing. It's nothing that we can have. So here come the science. Because how do we meet all this? How do we meet our inner noise, the noise created by our ideas, by opinions, and so on, and the thinking process that starts out of that? Because we are that. We are the noise, we are the mess, We are the thinking, we are the memories, we are the opinions, and so on. We are that. So what is going to see this? How do we meet that? We meet our memories with judgments. We meet our opinion with the idea that we shouldn't have any opinion. How do we meet the inner noise? Producing more noise, changing one noise with a different noise, one idea with another idea, and so on. This is what most of us, we do. Okay? We try through techniques to reach a silent mind. It's so, sorry, it's so stupid. We try to put a lid upon the pot without considering what there is inside of the pot, without considering the fire that there is beneath the pot, burning perhaps everything and making a mess of everything. But under the lid, for a while, everything is fine. Then we take off the lid and we discover that everything is burnt inside. So the same we do with this attempt to put order, attempt to find the silence that is opposite than the noise. So if the silence is opposite to the noise, then it is noise itself. It is creating division. It is another idea. Silence is an idea, as any other idea. I start from the idea, I want to have silence, then I try to discard all noise, all thoughts, all confusion within my mind until I find a little piece of silence. And then I say, okay, I'm there. And then everything starts again. So how do we meet this world of noise that is our inner world, and it is the world of our friends, of the other human beings? Our world is in a mess. There are wars, as you know, and more troubles. I will not make the list, but we know what will. Our world is in a mess. And this mess is mainly produced by what we are talking about, by thinking based on ideas. The ideas of I am Palestinian, I am Israeli, I have been wounded as being Palestinian, and I will kill Israeli people. And Israeli people, they do the same. I want to have more, and in order to have more, I can accept to destroy nature, to produce stupid stuff, useless, to spending my life in entertainment that are using a lot of energies, minerals for batteries and so on. But who cares? I want to have more fun. You know, Microsoft invested just a few days back $69 billion to buy a video game factory. $69 billion. It means this is our future, the future of our children. Spending our times on video games, on entertainments. So at the base of this, there is the idea having more fun is better. So how do we meet on this? Because it seemed to me that if we have to meet that, if we are to meet that, We cannot meet it with more ideas, with more judgments, with more anything. Only a silent mind can really meet the noise. As with a silent mind, we can listen to the birds, or with a silent mind, we can observe a tree, really observe it, not just watch it, but see the tree. See that the leaves of the tree are dotted with yellow, that there are dry branches, that there are insects flying on the tree, and so on. The tree is not the idea of the tree. The fact of the tree can be meted, seen in its movement, the light, the shadow. But to really watch, to really see the tree, the mind has to be silent, not saying it is beautiful, it's not beautiful, this tree is an oak tree, and so on. It is what it is. It has never been seen before. It's the first time we see the tree. In the same way, we can look at the noise. It is an impossible thing because the noise is me. How can the mind be silent? In the same time, the mind is full of noise, because this is the point. How is it possible? If it is not possible, then we are doomed, because this process that we are describing, this process is destroying the world. Actually, it's not a theory, it's a fact. And our lives, if this process is not deeply understood, it is in a mess. And we are bound to live in conflicts, in frustration, in misery. And that richness of life that comes and go, that blows with the spirit, is never met, is never seen. So, as I see things, also thanks to Krishna ji, I would say, thanks to having been listening deeply, having been going through that, I see that there is an inner urge to understand thinking as a whole, understanding the root of thinking, understanding the process of thinking, understanding the aims of thinking, understanding how the thinking produces actions, how it works in relationships, how it works within myself. This understanding is not coming, piling up knowledge, piling up informations. It is the urge to understand is in the very essence of us as human beings. Human beings, as human beings, we cannot live in falseness. We cannot accept what is not true. It's something that is beyond our possibilities. Most of us, we accept what is untrue as normal, compromises, little corruption, and so on, because it is convenient. But in doing that, we must suppress this something that is the deepest of us. This need for truth is a need. It's not something, is an option. We can choose truth or we can choose to be false. It's not like that. Without truth, there is no life. The life, we cannot have the richness of life. It's impossible. And truth is not something we can grasp. It's not something we can have. But truth itself is the richness of life. When we touch it, we feel the fullness of life flowering. But it's not there to be held, to be booked. So, how do we meet this thinking process that is making a mess? Can we feel, can we see that there is a huge for truth? There is an impetus to live life in his fullness, to be connected, really in relation with the other, with nature, with the friend, with the children, with our wives and partners and the husbands. Where there is division, there is suffering. So, this need to understand, this urge to understand, that is the search for truth. It's not having an idea of truth. It is there. It's not produced by thinking. It's not an idea before a thinking process. It's not a technique. It is there. As there is perception of beauty, perception of friendship, perception of affection, there is a need for understanding. And that need for understanding is not expressing itself through ideas and so on, but through careful watching. A watching that is not limited to watching myself or watching the others or watching nature. Watching, seeing is limitless. It's to everything. Inside is not separated from outside. Action is not separated from thinking. And thinking is not separated from the root of thinking. And the root of thinking are not separated from fear, from greed, and so on. So everything is working together. And watching is watching everything at once, together, not fragment by fragment by fragment, because they are interconnected. Everything is interconnected. Thinking, action, aims of thinking, rules of thinking, fears, producing those aims, search for security coming out of fear, and so on and so on and so on. I hope this is clear. So when we watch in this way, when we watch not bit by bit, but we watch everything together, then one thing that is clear is that everything is moving. Nothing is fixed once forever. Our feelings changes. Our ideas are just floating on the surface of a moving sea. Nothing can be measured, defined. Everything is in movement and is in interaction with each other. If we actually see that things, this is a fact, it's not another idea, it's not a further idea upon reality, but we see that this very moment, the present moment we are living now, is rooted, it's connected with all the past, with the friendship with Dubeiji, with the friendship with all of you, with the connection we had and with Krishnamurti, with all the story of humanity at the end. It is a fact. We are not separated from that. We are not separated from all the story of mankind, all the fears of mankind, all the ideas that mankind has been putting together in millennia. So there is this tremendous responsibility that is giving an end to those ideas, being free from those ideas that are producing a thinking process that is a mess. And this thinking process is a barrier. It prevents totally to live the fullness, the richness of life, both on our personal life and as a community, as humanity. It is not something personal. It is not something that we do to come upon something pleasurable or to be more intelligent or something like that, to having more, to add more again. But we can see, if we see that what we're talking about is actual, then we see that it is our responsibility to give an end to all opinions, to all ideas, to everything that is producing a mess through thinking and action based on that thinking. Seeing this, it means silence. It means watching opinion without opinion upon the opinion. watching thinking without measuring thinking, but seeing it actually as it is, without dividing what is measurable from what is not measurable. What is real is everything together, is the tree, is the feeling, the perception, the beauty of the tree, is the memory of the tree, is the reaction to the tree, is the connection from the tree to the other tree, is what we might call treeness, not my human vision of the tree, but the sense that the tree exists in itself. The tree has a life, a feeling, a perception that is not my perception. So I can touch, feel the treeness, the existence of the tree, not from a human perspective, but as such, as being a tree, as being something that is as sacred as each one of us is. Each children, each tree, each bird, each sunset is, when it is seen from silence, from no opinion, no memory, no judgments, each moment is sacred because it is as a whole, not as a fragment, more fragment, more fragment. But if this that has been just stated now becomes an idea, and I am afraid that many of the things that Krishnamurti stated became ideas for the listeners, including this one. Krishnamurti has been saying, maintaining, what is the most sacred. What does it mean to us, this? Have you ever been really, seriously giving all your energy to inquire into that? Or you could take it as an idea? Because if you take it as an idea, it's not only useless, it's damaging, it's a dangerous idea, it's an extremely dangerous idea. The idea that what is the most sacred. It opened the doors for all foolish things. So, inquiring, watching, observing, understanding are words that mean something that is this movement that asks for truth to come into being, the movement that denies everything that is false. Is not reaching something, is not done once forever. This movement itself must be understood, must be seen, that really exists. This movement does not exist because Krishnamurti pointed that out, or someone else pointed that out. It exists because it is in our very nature as human beings. We cannot live without truth. And we, in the same time, we cannot grasp, hold truth. We can touch truth, but the truth goes, is blown away. So what is there is this silent movement in search for touching truth, knowing that it will never end, cannot end. Out of that comes humility, this having no idea, no possession, is the end of the me, of the I. Not the end because the I does not exist anymore, because I am not selfish anymore. I am selfish, I am everything. But this selfishness, the egotism, the I, we can see that it might come to an end. It comes actually to an end. And then it restarts again. This movement of inquiring for truth is there all the time. It must become the main thing, rooted, strong, powerful, fearless. This very movement of inquiring about truth, of search for truth, is silence. Because it is not opinion, is not memory, is not idea, is not coming from Krishnamurti or from Buddha or from Christ. It is there, it exists. And this movement is silence. I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. I think you have put it beautifully, and I have no words to explain. I think you have done a wonderful job.
Thank you. I hope there are some discussion.
Yes, I hope so.
I see
Harshad has want to say something. Yes, Harshad bhai, please go ahead.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. Thank you, Dubeji. You have spoken very slowly, very clearly about this silence, which is a very, very difficult topic. And when Krishnaji is giving a series of talks, first talk he will show you what is happening in the world, the violence, corruption, the suffering which humanity has gone. And then from that outward observation of what is, then Krishnaji comes to our inner world, where also there are many problems which we have not looked at. And when a sensitive person who listens and observes within oneself finds that there are lots of conflicts, lot of problems, anger, fear, jealousy, which one has not really looked at. And then after reading and watching, and how we watch is very important, because sometimes Krishnaji says that the freedom is required at the beginning to watch what is happening within us. And if we know how to watch exactly as it is without justifying it, without condemning it, then there's comes some kind of order. And then thinking may still be there, but there will not be a thinker who wants to change what is happening. And so a kind of conflict between what is and what should be comes to an end. And then sometimes even the thinking stops. And then we really suddenly realize how wonderful it is to be without thinking, without the noise which goes on. Just like few minutes ago, there was a machine was running in the neighborhood, water pump, and it was creating noise. At the same time, I was listening to you. But when that water pump noise stopped, then I could begin to listen to you more with attention. So there is a noise going on outside in the environment, and there is a noise going on within us in the form of duality, the conflict between what is and what should be. And as you said, we want more. And that gave me a picture that if you have a room, then naturally you would like to have a table and a chair so that you can write, and then you have a bed to lie on. But then you keep on filling the room with more and more furniture, then there is a less space is available, and it becomes a problem. So to have the space not only in our room but also in our mind, so that we can watch everything what is coming, what is unfolding in our own mind. A space is required. And with that space, we can approach if there is any problem arising in relationship, like anger or fear or jealousy. It can be watched with this space, which is a real freedom. So I would say what happens to most of us children also when they go to school, college, university, the mind gets filled up with so much words, many ideas, and then it becomes like a room full of furniture, the mind full of ideas. And then only when there's a curiosity comes to look inward and see that why there is so much thoughts and feelings, why there is so much conflict, many problems. When we begin to observe, uh, how to observe, which Krishna ji talks about, without the observer, just watching the observation, then the room becomes more space. Our mind becomes orderly with space, and then we begin to look at even the things outside, like a tree or a morning star or the flowers or the children. Everything then looks very beautiful, very fresh, very new. And so I think this is the real challenge in our existence, to have space or silence to look, to listen, to learn about life. And okay, I have said enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harshad.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. Yes, Mr. Ravi Kaushal. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Harshad ji has talked beautifully about this, space in the mind. So that thing, I think, I really appreciate that, because I see that awareness brings more space and more silence. And there are a few things. So my question is, my question to Shanti ji is it the silent mind which wants to see the tree silently? Can that mind be silent in first place? I think silent mind has no search, no urge like that to see or not to see. If you are in first hand, molding your mind to see the thing silently, you are already in conflict. This one thing. And if you really see the silence. And one thing, we talked about too much about the silence. I think Raman Maharishi has talked on silence, that there are four kind of silence, like the silence of the eyes, the silence of the speech, the silence of the sound, and the silence of the mind. So basically, we are talking about the silence of the mind. So I think, but then when there is silence, who perceives the silence? If there is actually silence, who perceives the silence? So there must be something which is prior and beyond the silence. So I say that that's why I think that awareness is much deeper and prior to silence, because if there is silence, there must be perception of it, and if there is perception of it, that perception, that thing is which you cannot objectify, which you cannot perceive directly. It's not you cannot perceive awareness directly, because there is always something which is perceiving. So you cannot put it in understanding. The moment you put it in understanding, it's all the mind, and it's all experience and mind, and all that thing comes. So these are two, three things. So I think that the awareness brings this space. The space is very, I think, the most fundamental thing in perception, in seeing what is. This seeing of what is without the observer, the movement of the observer, we have finished all that. The observer is the observed and all. And now we are, I think we are talking much deeper. So I'm saying that this space is actually the thing which bring transformation. Kind of, you can say that. And two, three things more. What Shanti ji has said, that the division bring.
Ask your question. Ask your question if you have any.
Really, why should I have the question, sir? Please.
Okay,
if you are exploring, we are exploring together. So if there is something which I have said out of the box, or not appropriate, you must question that. And if you said something which is which is not appropriate, I must question.
It's gone?
Clarity, that thing brings more clarity. And the clarity is what this all discussion is all about.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, can I say something briefly to this?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you are raising a very deep and important point. And if I may reframe what you were saying, is in a way, if I understood correctly what you are saying, is there awareness of silence? Is this space the deepest and has silence itself a will and aim? This movement of inquiring for truth is in itself where does it come from, in a way? It is a very deep question, not easy to be explored, in my understanding. And just shortly, there is a sense that that space, I mean, first thing, silence, I was saying, we cannot see silence or that space as opposite to anything. Silence is not opposite to noise. We can see the noise silently. So there is a space that is not a pleasurable space, is being with what is anyway, even when it is painful or confused. So this space is there. Is that space based on something? has that space a direction? Is there an awareness of that space? We could perhaps give some definitions on this, but I wonder if it is worth to enter into further definitions and to further saying, okay, there is an awareness that is deepest than science and so on. Because once we are out of the field of the thinking that is a field of definition, of measurement, and so on, that space is actually limitless, not because we have an idea of it as being limitless. It's because when we actually explore it, it is obvious that we cannot really define here there is awareness and there is, it's true, sometimes there is awareness of silence and sometimes there is just silence without even the awareness of it. So it is, we could say, is a different quality of silence. But what is far more important to find the seriousness, the eagerness, the energy to enter into that and to actually explore it, than looking for further definitions, for further words. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi.
Please.
Yes, Dr. Pradeep Verma.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for breaking silence with my words. But my mind says silence and sound both are part of me. The moment I utter a word, I can talk about silence, but not be in silence. Surely in silence, I can see clearly, listen and learn. We have used words to point, to paint and point wordless, non-verbal silence, silence and a number of abstract states using the word beyond. Sound associated with words has some sort of electromagnetic effect that attracts most of the people most of the times. We have become more hungry for knowledge, information, and entertainment than food even. Children skip food, engaged in computer games and virtual realities. So this is all related to sound. I have no questions what Santi talked about or Ravi talked about, but these are things what we are doing. You may say this is not silence, that is not silence. You go on dissecting silence, but ultimately this is the state of affairs we are in. I think what I have talked about, that we are using words to talk about non-verbal. You see? And we say that silence has no opposite. But the moment something has taken a space, silence may be there at a particular quantum mechanics level, but that something has been replaced by something else, and both cannot be cognizable to me at the same moment. This is what I feel. Thank you very much. Thank you, friends, giving me time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I say something?
Yes.
To that? You know, the dictionary definition of silence is absence of noise. So in this way, silence has an opposite. When there is noise, there is no silence. It's quite simple. The way I was using the word silence is not not the same thing. I was saying, to be practical, when I speak or you speak, Pradeep, can we listen? Not just react, but actually listen. Can you, while you are speaking, listen to yourselves? Listen to the very source of the words. So in that way, if this can have any reality, and I think it might be real, that while each one of us is speaking, is in the same time listening to the source, being aware if the source is honest, or there is a wish to appear, to look out in a way or the other. So in the same way, we can be absorbed in entertainment, and surely it becomes very difficult to listen from a silent place to the fact that I'm watching a movie, a war movie, for instance, where there are a lot of emotions and so on. But still, we can listen to the speech and really listen. That listening is science, is what I meant when I was saying there is no silence, is not opposite to anything. That's all.
Thank you, Santi. Yes, Prasad sir.
Sir, I can't claim I have understood everything said by Mr. Santi, but I want to share my own understanding of this topic, silence. Krishnaji, I mean, ultimately, silence in the teaching of Krishnamurti is freedom from background. We all share backgrounds. Everyone has his own background, her own background. And he was referring in one of his Bombay talks, he was saying, there is no space in a city. Our cities are crowded. There is no space. Silence comes only when there is space. When there is no space, either physically outside or in our minds, then there can be no silence. Our cities are crowded. We all accept that. There is no dispute about that. But our minds are also crowded. That we don't realize. We don't accept that point. And Krishnaji, that's why he is a master of negation. Normally, all gurus, all teachers, all priests, everybody, they teach you something positive. They say, you practice this thing, you chant like this, or you do meditation like this, there is, you will get something. So they are on the positive track. That is, they are saying something positive. Whereas Krishnaji never said anything positive. He is always a negation. What is love? This is not love, this is not love, this is not love, like that. So it is a process of emptying of the mind. When the mind gets emptied, there is silence. When it is the observer who is creating the positive. When the observer becomes silent, the mind becomes silent. We all have our own observer, and it is the observer who is the background that has, in other words, it is the process of becoming. The positive is the process of becoming. And he always said, we don't know what is being. It is, we are always in the process of becoming. So, negation, freedom from becoming, absence of background, put it any way you like, but ultimately it is space and the silence that creates a silence. Space and silence go together. We have no space in our minds because we are full of our own backgrounds, our own knowledge, our own opinions, our own ideologies, everything like that. I hope I am not far from what Santiji has said. I don't know. But I want to listen to him, the recorded speech, because I have a little problem with the accent also.
I see. I'm sorry for that.
No, sir. I mean, I have my own accent, you have your own. Like I have my background, you have your background. So those things will be there. But ultimately, it is our conditionings. Without freedom from conditioning, there is no silence. And without silence, there is no understanding. You don't understand. When you are rightly saying something, that is you listening. Listening is when your mind is silent. You can listen only when your mind is silent. When you have your opinions, you can't listen to the other person. That is, you don't. And one small thing he always said, can you listen to the sound, not simply the meaning? When you are listening to somebody, the sound creates, it has its own meaning. If you really apply yourself to what is being said, it is your, can you just listen to that sound? When you listen to your wife, can you listen to her sound? Not simply the meaning. Words create meaning, but the sound tells you her affection for you, or whether she is, I mean, it conveys its own meaning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dineshji, unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Sir, my understanding on this subject is, as you rightly said, absence of noise is not the silence. At least we can say that it is a quietness or it is a calmness, but it is not the silence, real silence. We may call it silence, but this is not the real silence. The entity who is observing this polarity as noise versus silence, that entity is in real silence. But there also awareness of that is the celestial music, you can say, or you can say the cosmic hum, or in tradition we in India we say anahat nad. So that is the awareness is that, and the real source which is in silence is even beyond that, which cannot be described. This is what my understanding is. What are your views?
Well, there are many descriptions of what I've been saying and many words. Of course, this is a topic where river words has been given. But the fact is not gathering words or gathering opinion. In my understanding, the fact is applying ourselves. That means being really serious with this, not playing the games of words. And not playing the games of words means to meet directly what we are talking about. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Santi. We'll have the last comment now from Dr. Pradeep Verma. Yes, Pradeep.
This is on a lighter note, because I was listening to Prasad Garu. So we are putting so many conditions to be unconditional all the time. This should not be there, that should not be there, then only will be that. So to be unconditional, we are putting so many conditions. Then he talked about negation, but JK also used negation is the most positive. It's not that he has not used the word positive. The most positive negation through negation. Negation is the most positive. So it's not that negative and positive are not there, but in a different way. That's all. This is what I feel. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we have come
Yes.
to the close of the session, and I want to thank Santi for sparing his time and being with us today, and hope in future also Santi will join us. And it was a very nice discourse. I think we all liked it, and it brought lots of clarity on the subject of silence. Thank you, Santi. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Dubey. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you. Thank you.
it was nice to be with you this morning. Hope
Thank
to
you.
to be with you again in the future.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank
Good
you. Bye-bye.
silence.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.